For this project, I've selected Microsoft and reviewed its most recent Environment Sustainability Report. I approach this as if I'm briefing the Microsoft's Chief Sustainability Officer. I focus on Microsoft's key ESG priorities, how they were identified, how well they align with the company's overall business strategy, and how effectively they address stakeholders' expectations. I focus on material sustainability issues and how well these priorities connect to Microsoft's broader strategy. I highlight what stands out as working well, what appears most important, and where there is room for improvement. Slide highlights Microsoft's key ESG priorities as outlined in the report. The strongest focus is on environmental topics, starting with the commitment to carbon negative by 2030. Alongside this, Microsoft emphasizes being water positive, reducing waste, addressing supplier emissions in Scope 3, and applying circular design principles across products, data centers, and packaging. Microsoft explains that these priorities were shaped through input from a wide range of stakeholders, including investors, customers, suppliers, and employees. The company also uses an approach that looks at both financial risk to the business and its broader impact on the environment and society. Microsoft with other technology companies such as Apple and Amazon, Microsoft stands out for how closely sustainability is linked to its core business operations, especially cloud services and data centers. Sustainability is treated as an operating priority rather than a separate initiative. Microsoft also sets very ambitious long term goals and communicates its target and progress in a clear and structured way, which makes performance easier to track as compared to some peers. In contrast, Apple is particularly strong in product innovation and use of sustainable materials, while Amazon is known for moving quickly and scaling sustainability initiatives across a very large operation. That said, there are clear gaps in Microsoft's report. The narrative focuses much on successes rather than on challenges, with limited discussion on setbacks. Environment issues receive far more attention than social topics like equity and community impact. In addition, while suppliers are critical to Microsoft's sustainability goals, the report does not clearly explain incentives, enforcement actions, or consequences for suppliers that do not meet the expectations. The report mainly targets investors, enterprise customers, regulators, suppliers, and employees. These groups are referenced most through the report through goals, matrices, and progress updates. Sustainability ownership is clear at the executive level and is built into core teams such as cloud and data center, product design, and procurement. This shows sustainability is part of the everyday business decisions. Microsoft reports using well known global frameworks such as GRI, SASB, TCFD, and CDP. These are widely accepted standards and help make the data more comparable and credible for investors and regulators. Some environmental data is externally reviewed by independent third parties, but not all sustainability matrices are fully assured yet. This shows progress on credibility, but also room for improvement. Overall, Microsoft relies more on global standards rather than regional ones. This aligns with its global footprint and investor base and positions the company well for future investments like CSRT. As earlier mentioned, Microsoft's sustainability efforts are closely tied to its core businesses, especially cloud services, data centers, and product design. This shows that sustainability is part of how the business operates, not a separate effort. The report clearly separates what Microsoft has already achieved from what it plans to deliver in the future, which helps improve transparency and credibility. Finally, Microsoft presents a clear long term vision. Goals like being carbon negative, water positive, and adopting a circular design are positioned as well as are the drivers of the future growth and long term value. Starting with strengths, Microsoft has very clear sustainability priorities and a high level of ambition. Sustainability is closely linked to companies' overall business strategy. Because of this, Microsoft is widely seen as an industry leader on climate action and has built stronger credibility with both investors and regulators. At the same time, there are areas of improvement, such as social and equity impacts, receive less attention than environmental topics. This report also focuses heavily on future innovation with less detail on near term execution. Finally, while suppliers are critical to Microsoft goals, the report does not clearly explain how supplier accountability or enforcement is handled. Overall, the tone of the report feels credible and serious. Microsoft openly acknowledges Scope 3 challenges and presents a clear long term sustainability vision which helps build trust. However, the report focuses more on what is going well with limited discussion on what hasn't worked well or where targets were delayed. More details would be helpful on cost and ROI trade offs, real challenges in reducing supplier emissions, and how sustainability efforts contribute to the long term resilience. Report, there are a few recommendations for Microsoft. First, Microsoft should clearly explain the ROI of sustainability by showing how investments reduce cost, lower risk, and build resilience. Second, supplier emissions targets should be linked to contracts, incentives, and clear consequences. Third, the report should better balance environmental goals with social impact, including workforce and community outcomes. Finally, simplifying reporting with fewer decision useful metrics would improve clarity and usability. Microsoft presents a pragmatic and optimistic sustainability narrative. The report shows clear targets, stronger executive accountability, and improving measurement and reporting practices. To maintain leadership and trust, the focus now needs to shift from ambition to execution. This means ROI on sustainability investments, stronger supplier accountability, and a more balanced ESG story that goes beyond environmental issues. This matters because strong execution projects long term business value. Clearly, ROI builds investor confidence, and simpler, more standardized reporting improves credibility. Thank you.